One situation I keep coming back to is what happened during the height of the Drake versus Kendrick Lamar battle, when Queen's Flip started posting reaction videos on his own channel. Looking back now, listen to this, I can admit I got that part wrong. The idea that Joe Budden was trying to completely stop Flip from creating content doesn't really hold up anymore. The real reason Joe stepped in was that he understood that the Drake storyline was a massive opportunity for the JBP, so from his perspective, any major opinions or hot takes about that feud belonged on the podcast first. I can definitely understand that logic now, but hold up, let's not pretend Joe has always been supportive of everyone's side projects either. Every time Mark Lamont Hill's podcast comes up, and let's be honest, it's performing really well, it somehow gets framed differently. Whenever Mark talks about his own show, it usually creates a huge conversation online, if not a full-blown viral moment. Yet whenever Joe mentions it, the discussion almost always comes with a sarcastic or negative angle. That's a pattern that's hard to ignore. Now, building on that point, I also understand the business side of all this. This is a content game, an entertainment game, and getting clicks is part of the job. Joe knows exactly how to play that game. Even so, I honestly can't remember many times where he openly celebrated one of his CEO hosts' outside ventures without attaching jokes or criticism to it. And even if those jokes are meant to shine a spotlight on the project, that's never really been how I viewed it. So I've got to call it exactly how I see it. It often feels like Joe wants a piece of every successful project that starts while someone is part of the podcast. You can't convince me he isn't at least a little irritated whenever Ish turns something connected to the show into merchandise or another business opportunity. That reaction seems pretty obvious to me. I remember one example especially well because it wasn't that long ago. Ish openly admitted that he called Queen's Flip about putting the negativity highlighter shirt and other merch on Flip's website. Flip ultimately chose not to move forward with it. My read is that he wasn't trying to prove generosity so much as he was trying to show Joe where his loyalty stood. He wanted Joe to know, I'm with you, and I'm not going behind your back for outside opportunities that look like a clear sign of solidarity. Still, you can't tell me those situations don't bother Joe. On some level, you also can't convince me he wasn't paying attention when the Oxdale shirt exploded online. That was definitely Ish's moment, but it became popular because it originated through the JBP audience. Moments like that naturally create bigger conversations. Then there's the decision to get rid of the sleeper segment. In my opinion, it wasn't simply because people weren't picking good music anymore. The bigger issue seemed to be the belief that some music selections were tied to pay for play arrangements. And if money was being made from those placements without flowing back through the show, that's obviously going to raise concerns. So no, I don't believe Joe is outright preventing anyone from building something on the side. But I do think he's willing to undercut or overshadow those outside ventures when they begin competing with the brand. Once again, I'll admit my original claim wasn't completely accurate. Joe isn't stopping anybody from making moves, but I still don't think my overall observation is far off. That's exactly why I keep bringing it up. And it's also why I understand where Parks was coming from. If there truly wasn't anything behind the discussion, why would there be such a strong need to correct the narrative? Lately though, the bigger question on my mind has shifted away from that. The part I'm most interested in now is the relationship between Joe and Ian. I'm genuinely curious about how that partnership is structured behind the scenes. Does Ian actually have meaningful equity in the business? Does he own a larger stake than people realize, or is the arrangement completely different? That's the main angle I've been paying attention to, because I think it explains a lot of what's happening in the background. I want them to finally address that situation head on. And honestly, I might have to switch up my approach after seeing the latest poll results. Shout out to Ice for taking home Potter of the Month. I hadn't even made a video about Ice in quite a while, and the moment I finally dropped one that was critical, he suddenly caught another wave. Talk about perfect timing. Man, this guy has been on a serious run. Everyone kept saying he wasn't creating content, and then boom, he jumped right back onto Twitch. Not only is he streaming games like people kept telling him to do, but now his girlfriend is appearing too, bringing even more attention to the channel. Then he follows it up by winning Potter of the Month again. The last time that happened was back in 2024. And now we're closing in on 2027. That's only the second time he's pulled it off, which makes it even more impressive. Listen to this, I never thought I'd say it. But Ice and Joe are slowly pulling me right back into this conversation. And now I've got to create even more content than I originally planned. I know I've been away for a little while, and I don't want anyone thinking I've disappeared for good. The reality is, I'm dealing with a lot behind the scenes when it comes to YouTube. I already know that if I fully committed making 2 or 3 videos every day across both channels while launching the new channel I've been planning, I could realistically make YouTube my full-time income. But while building that second channel, I realized just how much time it was taking away from everything else. It started pulling me away from my actual business, DoorDash, and the other work I rely on to bring in money. That's when I realized the schedule just wasn't lining up anymore. I couldn't keep sacrificing hours every single day without seeing faster results. If I'm spending 2 hours here, another hour there, and producing multiple videos across different channels, that effort has to start paying off sooner rather than later. So my plan was simple. I was going to take a month away from YouTube, focus heavily on my other jobs, get a full month ahead financially, and then come back with enough breathing room to dedicate myself completely to content. After that, YouTube revenue could start building month after month. But hold up, Joe wouldn't even let that happen. Before I could step away, it was like the universe said, nope, get back in the game. Then shout out to JBTV After Hours, and of course, shout out to Dub. Because he's the one who even brought all of this to my attention. I honestly wasn't watching the Patreon episodes. I intentionally stayed away from podcasts because I didn't want to get pulled into reacting when I was trying to stay focused on everything happening outside YouTube. Then I'm scrolling through Twitter, and suddenly people start tagging me. I'm thinking, wait, what's this? I click it, see what's going on, and immediately realize I have to respond. My brother told me something years ago that I didn't fully understand back then, but I absolutely believe now. You never waste momentum when somebody hands it to you. If someone puts your name back into the conversation, you take advantage of it. This feels like Joe putting my name right back into the algorithm when I had already stepped away. I was fully prepared to disappear for a month, stack my money, come back quietly, and act like nothing ever happened. I wasn't even going to tell anybody about the break. Now those plans are completely out the window. But once again, shout out to Ice, whether he meant to or not. This whole situation definitely lit that competitive fire all over again. Now this whole situation has me even more motivated to launch my gaming channel faster than I originally planned. Man, I can't sit here telling someone else they're wasting opportunities if I'm letting my own time slip away. I've got to hold myself to the same standard. Looking at everything now, I don't think Joe is simply against people building businesses outside the podcast. Everybody around him is finding ways to eat. And honestly, I wanted to say this regardless because it was already on my mind before any of this happened. I've been keeping up with Queen's Flip's reaction content over on Kick. I'm subscribed. But I'll be real, I just can't get used to Kick's interface enough to sit through long streams. Still, every clip Flip posts on Twitter tells the same story. Listen to this. He's really putting in work. That's exactly what Flip was doing when Joe called him out before, and I misunderstood the situation. I focused on Joe being upset instead of asking why he was upset in the first place. It wasn't about Flip making outside content or putting up big numbers, because let's be honest, those reaction videos were pulling in 200,000 to 300,000 views. The bigger issue is that Flip was covering a topic Joe believed the podcast had already helped bring to the forefront, and if we're being fair, I can actually understand Joe's perspective now. Just like creators sometimes say they predicted a trend before everyone else caught on. Joe had been talking about the tension between Drake and Kendrick Lamar long before it exploded into the biggest rap battle in years. So when that moment finally arrived, of course, he wanted those conversations behind the JBP paywall where the audience expected to hear his full take. From that angle, the decision makes a lot more sense than I originally gave it credit for. So shout out to everyone who's staying active and continuing to build their own platforms. I also want to give a special shout out to Amani because he's consistently shown me support and always speaks about me respectfully. Even when the people in that room disagree with my opinions, and it's obvious they disagree with plenty of them, they still keep the conversation respectful instead of making it personal. I genuinely appreciate that because healthy debate pushes the space forward. Honestly, if those conversations happened even more often, the engagement would go through the roof. They're paying attention to the clip channels too. Shout out once again to JBTV After Hours and my guy Dub because they've been turning things up in a major way. I've watched their subscriber counts grow and I've seen their views climb right along with them. That tells me Joe Budden and everyone connected to the podcast still has serious influence. And now even more creators are benefiting from that attention. If everyone keeps connecting with the community the way they did recently, everybody wins. And before I wrap this up, I just want to thank everyone who's continued supporting me, especially the people over on Patreon. I know some members have left because they felt I wasn't uploading enough, and that's completely understandable. But the overwhelming majority stuck around, and I'm even seeing new subscribers come in. That made me realize people must have been talking about me elsewhere because I only found out through Twitter. So let me make this clear, I'm not quitting, not even close. If anything, we're sitting at one of the biggest opportunities yet. I just had to make some difficult real-life decisions. And while I still need to handle those responsibilities, I also don't want to leave you all waiting any longer.